A philosophy we've had for 53 years here is to make sure that our footprint's a positive one for the environment.
We came here about 30 odd years ago and we were very focused on a few things. One was making sure the business was profitable, as there was now an extra income required from the farm. We wanted to make sure that the people were looked after, but equally it was really important to us that we really look after our environment and our landscape, because we see them as being the things that we're going to leave for the next generations.
We often think about environmental sustainability first, and that's actually making sure that we're looking after the soil, we're looking after the grass, we're looking after the animals, that we're preserving any biodiversity that you have or enhancing that. But it's also about looking after the people and profitability. So if we're actually not making a profit, we can't stay here and it's not sustainable. So we need a business that's thriving, but it's doing it in a way that the land's benefiting from it as well.
Over the journey, we've seen much more improved pastures. We've been able to improve management facilities in terms of the yards, laneway infrastructure. It's been terrific. And a lot more trees on the landscape. There was quite a bit of remnant bush that had been grazed previously. We've been able to fence that out and preserve that and then add to it. We've been able to fence out a number of waterways where we were starting to get some erosion, and we can combine fencing that out as preserving the waterway, but also with planting out that provides us shelter.
For us, one of our goals has always been to preserve and protect any bush we do have, and then try and enhance it, and really then extend it right across the farm so we could have those shade and shelter benefits further. Having your paddock so you can rotationally graze and graze effectively, creating shade and shelter means the animals are going to thrive better. Even though we've taken a lot of land out of production by putting them into trees, we've actually only lifted our production. And the research shows that you grow more pasture, you grow more crops with shelter belts, because you're reducing that wind, reducing that evaporation, and the plants, instead of being stressed, can thrive.
When we got here, I think we had about 4% cover, and we're up to about 14% of tree cover on the place. It's been an ongoing program for the best part of 30 years. So we're now running about 60% cattle, 40% sheep. And we worked out the right formula for that. And then over time, it's been about feeding the animals properly with well fertilised soils and pastures, and also getting the right genetics. So we've been able to tap into the EBVs that suit our production system. And so whenever we've been selecting bulls or rams for that matter, we've always been looking at those estimated breeding values to help us. We set some targets of around 410 to 450 kilograms of beef per hectare, and lambs we had at around 550 to 600 kilograms per hectare. Now that we're there, it's about fine-tuning, just trying to get little improvements in the genetics. We're resowing paddocks each year. We're normally doing 1 or 2 paddocks. So it's just making those little improvements as we go. And we've really enjoyed a relationship with Greenham's. Their philosophy and what they're trying to do matches what we're trying to do on our property in terms of producing beef that's reared on grass only, with the best animal welfare practices we can offer. And environmentally, we're trying to do everything as clean as possible. There's no hormones or antibiotics.
Since setting that carbon neutral target a couple of years ago, there's an enormous amount of research there about how much are animals emitting, how do we reduce those emissions, either directly, so for example feed additives, we can reduce emissions by up to 90%. Also genetics, by selecting bulls that are actually more efficient converters of grass into growth rather than burping. If we select those bulls, we can produce cows and calves that produce less. There's also enormous amount with the tree planting, fixing carbon into trees and in the soils, and making sure that we really are making a difference to the climate, that we're climate positive. But we still can do more, and that's where our tree planting, continuing to focus on the soil. We've been doing rotational grazing for over 20 years now. The first thing I think on a pathway towards farming in a sustainable manner is having a whole farm plan and understanding your land and your land class. So understanding where the water flows, where the water lies. And so Where we've actually now been able to manage to fence to land class, we can actually improve our grazing management to make sure that with our rotational grazing we don't ever have bare ground, we can grow more pasture, and it means we can run more stock. It means they're well fed. We are thinking of animal welfare every single day and making sure that those animals have enough food, have good quality water, and that they're healthy and thriving. That's the first thing we think of every morning and the first thing we think of at night when we go to bed.
Just get in there and have a go, because if you put it off for too long, it's never going to get easier. And I think the earlier you can get trees and that kind of biodiversity in the landscape, the more you're going to reap the benefits from it.